Hello book lovers and welcome to Book Talk Radio Club. My name is Claire Perkins and today I'm talking to Cynthia J. Taylor. Cynthia, who writes under the pen name of C.J. Taylor, recently published her first book, Heavenly Gifts, It Might Be Pancakes. Her debut is a collection of short stories of inspiration for young people. Cynthia has even involved her son Jason, who did the original illustrations for the book. Let's find out some more. Hi Cynthia, welcome and thank you for coming on Book Talk Radio Club.
Hi Claire, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Cynthia, would you like to give Book Talk Radio Club's listeners a short synopsis of Heavenly Gifts, It Might Be Pancakes?
Oh, I'd love to. It's a collection of short stories, which were some of my favorite readings when I was coming up. I loved books with short stories in them. So this is my first book, and it's a collection of short stories for children, mostly ages 9 to 12. It's different characters, different stories, different outcomes, and it's all stories of inspiration for young people.
Why the title Heavenly Gifts, It Might Be Pancakes? And I like pancakes, but what's that got to do with heavenly gifts?
Well, I'm glad it caught you that way, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to catch people's curiosity. But each story, I think, it's a God whisper. Each story is a gift for the reader.
Yeah.
And as far as the pancakes, that's a little secret you'll have to find out in one of the stories.
Ah, clever.
It's all revealed in one of the stories.
So what made you decide to write a faith-based children's book?
Well, my faith is very important to me. It's my walk. It's my relationship with God that drives me every day. And children are very curious, but I don't think you can reach them with a bunch of scriptures and readings from the Bible and all of that. But one thing I did want to get across to them was the love of God. And if I could do that through a story that captured their attention and yet gave a message, all the better.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's definitely a good idea. The book is a collection of short stories of inspiration, and each selection captures a relevant message kids can identify with. Tell me about the feature story, Anna and Josh.
That was my first one. Don't want to go into too much detail, but Anna and Josh tells the story of two young siblings that they love each other, but they do a lot of fussing and bickering, but down in the heart of it, they still love each other. And the story tells you about a very important happening in their lives and how they deal with it and the outcome of it. And it just brings you in on that story of love and forgiveness between siblings and family.
Right. So there's a message behind each story. Is the message different for each story?
Yes. But they all have that common God whisper thread. They touch on messages of love, kindness, forgiveness, acceptance, and even touching on relevant issues like bullying, blended families, coping with the loss of a loved one, and illness. So, each story has a different message and a different outcome.
I do like that expression used, God whisper. I love that. Can you explain that?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, sometimes God speaks in a still small voice, sometimes in a major thing where you just kind of go, that's what he wanted me to know. But sometimes it's just that little whisper.
Yeah.
Just that little silent, soft whisper and a little nudge. And I kind of like those things. I once heard someone refer to them as God winks. But just those little instances that can happen that I know who that is talking.
The illustrations in Heavenly Gifts, It Might Be Pancakes, are drawn by your son Jason. Was it difficult or was it easy to work with him?
It was a little bit of both. He is an artist, and he does have his own eye. I was grateful to have him work with me, and he would read the stories, and he would see them in a whole different light. And I was so pleased with his work. But overall, he's very easy to work with. Very even-keeled young man.
So
But I'm kind of biased.
Well, yeah, I can understand. So he read the stories and then interpreted them into the drawings, I guess, yeah?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So what age group did you say the book is aimed at?
Mostly 9 to 12, but I think that it could reach young and young at heart. I think it could reach children younger than 9, because when their parents read it to them and explain it to them, and sometimes children will surprise you. They're reading much earlier sometimes.
Right.
I think I gear it toward 9 to 12, but I think anyone can enjoy it.
Let's talk a little about you, Cynthia, if I may. So you grew up in rural North Carolina with 5 siblings and was blessed to have multiple generations always living close by. That's something that's pretty rare nowadays, isn't it? We seem to be scattered all over the place. Can you describe your childhood?
It was modest. We grew up in the South. There wasn't a lot of material things, but I didn't know that we didn't have a lot. Because we always seemed to have our needs met. I came from a very close family. My grandfather was a minister. So I've always had God at the center of my family.
Right.
But it was a simple home, simple home life. And growing up in the country, the community was filled with cousins and second cousins and third cousins and all that. My mom was very, very God-centered, very strong woman of faith. And I watched her raise us pretty much single-handedly. My dad wasn't in the picture a lot from my memory. He was for my older brothers and sisters, but when I came along, I'm like next to the youngest child. So, but I saw her be very strong, very strong. But I had loving grandparents close by. They were like right up the path from our house. So it was pretty close-knit growing up.
I find that so interesting because I'm an only child. And I've got
my!
So, the thought of being amongst all those siblings and with grandparents nearby. I've got a very small family. There's me, my mum and dad, and of course my husband and the dog, and that's it.
Yeah.
So after attending public schools, you graduated in 1982 from North Carolina Central University as an English major. Perhaps in the future you were going to be an author.
Oh my gosh. I thought I was going to be a lawyer, but that was my thing.
Oh, right.
I was going to go and major in English and learn how to write all these wonderful briefs and be a big-time criminal lawyer.
Oh.
And as we can see, that went a totally different direction.
It always does.
I never thought about being an author.
I know from your bio you've always been an avid reader, but you hid the dream of someday becoming a writer. Why did you hide that?
It never dawned on me, as much as I was a reader, I always had a book in my hand, but it never dawned on me that I could be the person on the other side, that I could be the author. Yeah. And especially not of a children's book that other kids would be walking around with my book in their hand. So this was, it sort of kind of flourished into a dream that was hidden. I always thought that I could, but then I kind of hide it away and go, no, that's not. But it was still there. It was still there. I have to admit now. It really was.
You write under the pen name of C.J. Taylor. Was there a particular reason that you can share for using a pen name?
Not really. I liked the catchiness of it.
Oh, fair enough.
I really did.
I
liked it. I thought it was cute. I wanted to do that. And then it kind of led a little mystery to it. Just a little bit.
Today you live with your husband and 2 children in suburban Maryland, where you are also a talented gospel singer, serving with your family weekly at your church. You describe yourself as a faith-filled woman. What does faith-filled mean to you?
It's all about relationship with God. I have to really, I always want to let people know that my life is centered around my love of God and my love for God.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew about God coming up and growing up in church, but it all became different when I developed a relationship with God, where I knew that any trial, any major storm in my life, any issue, that I could pray about it and I could remain faithful to know I always knew that there was something bigger than me.
Right.
I always knew there was something guiding my life, and even as a young child, not knowing what it was, and you would hear about God in church and sermons and all that. But when it became personal to me, that's how I feel faith-filled. I know where to take my issues and my problems.
Yeah, that's more or less how I feel too. There's just an inner peace, isn't there?
Yes. Oh, definitely that. Definitely that. To know that, you know, you can take your innermost thoughts and feelings and cry out to him or laugh or cry or joke or any of those things. God's right there.
Yeah.
And I look at it all as a relationship that I walk in every day.
Lovely. So let's go back to Heavenly Gifts. It might be pancakes. What are your hopes for your book?
I want to get it in people's hands. I want people to share it. I want them to feel the stories. I want them to feel the love in the stories, to share it with their children. And even they may even be able to identify with some of the issues in there. And it would just blow my mind to know that I would have a mother or a father that could take my book and say, we're going through this right now. And I love the way she touched on it. And I love the way she brought it out, that that's what I want to share with my child. That's what I want.
That's lovely. So are there any more children's books on the horizon, or will this be the one and only?
Oh, no, I hope not. I want it to be more. I definitely want it to be more. I've got so many ideas floating around in my head, and I definitely want it to be more. I even want to do a memoir, but that definitely won't be a children's book. Definitely don't want it to be the only one.
Lastly, where can Book Talk Radio Club's listeners purchase Heavenly Gifts? It might be pancakes.
Well, my main source is Archway Publishing. That's where it all started. And they're at archwaypublishing.com, through Amazon or Barnes & Noble. They're at all three of those.
Right.
So, yeah, definitely. Any of those. I know everyone loves Amazon, so they can definitely get it at Amazon.
All right. Well, thank you, Cynthia. That was great. Please come back on Book Talk Radio Club. I'd love to hear more in the future, and good luck for the future. And thank you, everyone, for listening to Book Talk Radio Club. Thanks very much, Cynthia.
Thank you. Thank you so much.